Hey everybody, Reef Girl here, and welcome to my channel. My next video was supposed to have been about Spa Day in Mollywood, where I did the major cleanup that I'd been meaning to do for months. But events changed all that. What I'm showing you here is webcam footage recorded on August the 4th. You can see all of my fish are swimming around. Things are very normal. But all that changed in one day on August the 8th. I was getting set up for a regular Saturday night live stream when I got a panicked FaceTime from my daughter. She was finding dead fish in this aquarium, so I had to put out a quick video and get over there and see what was going on. Hey everybody, Reef Girl here. I have to cancel tonight's live stream, Saturday, August the 8th, because there's been an incident in this tank where a bunch of the fish have died. So we jumped in the car and drove. Okay, so this is a couple of hours later, and here's the part where I'm going to warn you that I will be showing you some dead fish. So if that's really going to bother you, then you might want to maybe fast forward through this or skip it somehow. I'm hoping anyone who does look at the fish, please let me know if you see any signs on their bodies that might indicate what might have happened to them. I'm not an expert in any way on fish disease or anything that goes wrong with fish. Honestly, nothing like this has ever happened to me before in my 10 years of reef keeping. So if anybody sees any clues as to perhaps what may have happened to the fish, bearing in mind that this happened in the space of a few hours to all of these fish at the same time, I would love to hear if anyone has any ideas about it. So yeah, super cloudy water because we have been messing around in there pulling fish. We have my pair of angelfish is gone. Siggy the foxface, Tomini tang, and Sunny the male clownfish. We have a aurora goby still alive. The green wrasse, of course, 3 mollies are all still alive. Green wrasse is swimming around. We cannot locate Armando the hawkfish or Elvis the blenny. I do have to look inside his barnacle and see if he's down in there, because that's normally where he spends his time, and Cher, the female clownfish. I do not know what the problem is. I pulled the heater. Can't see any sign of damage on an initial inspection. We are going to get a voltmeter and check it and just see whether there is something up with it. At this point, we're still on a search for bodies, and I'm going to do my best to get them out of there because, you know, it's not good. It's not going to be good for ammonia. And see whether the water clears up. All right. No ammonia as of yet. Although the strip is turning pretty dark on the edges after 60 seconds. After a little over an hour, I did another ammonia test using an API test kit, and the reading was above 0.25, but not quite 0.5. I did find Cher, the female clownfish, and I found Elvis the blenny, Midas blenny. So that's everyone except the flame hawkfish. Have not found him yet. I thought if I put food in, maybe the aurora goby would come out and eat, and it did. It's not out right now, but I did see it come out and eat. It's under this rock here. You can see his tail. He is alive, he is eating. And I wondered whether the flame hawkfish, if he was still in here, would come out. Have not seen him. The other fish have eaten. And I'm going to move these corals, the big corals along the bottom, because I found Cher tucked under Buster at the back, and see if I can find any more signs of any fish. The thing is, Stanley is fine. Look at Stanley, he's looking great. This coral is looking very rough because the foxface was laying right across it. And I'm sure, given a little bit more time, it would have started eating it. So yeah, and Interestingly enough, the Duncan is closed right up. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. Should be starting the live stream right now, but of course I'm here. Couldn't find Armando, but he is a small fish, so if he is stuck under a rock somewhere and decomposes, then I'm thinking the tank can handle it without too much of a problem. So it's still a mystery. Okay, day after. The fish are all the same as they were last night, 3 mollies and the green wrasse. He's kind of swimming around the back a little bit. I have not seen him come out in the open yet, but he is in there. He is still okay. I don't know about the aurora goby. This is where we last saw him, his tail sticking out. The corals, some of them aren't looking great, but by no means do they look like they're checking out, except for the Melanospilos colony here. You can see all those white areas, tissues pretty much stripping right off. RTN. The rest of the acros though, this one, it looks white. It has been looking white because those are growing tips. There is a white area on that pink tabling acro at the back, and even though this filter doesn't pick up the color, it is still quite pink. Coming across here, these guys look fine. The Divine Mystic Sunset Monty polyps are open enough to where you can actually see they're blue. Goniopora is retracted, but not completely. The Duncan is closed up a little. The torch is not out like it usually is this time of day. And yeah, I overall, when you think of how bad things were, now the fox coral is not looking great. I think I have to upright it. It looks like it's tipped over a little bit. But Symphilia, Buster's good, Stanley's good. Going through here, you know, things aren't open up fully waving and happy, but so I can see I'll have some cleanup work ahead of me. For example, I'll have to take this power head out and clean it. I don't know what the stuff is, the white stuff on it, but it looks like a bacterial slime. No clue where that would come from because I don't dose bacteria to this tank. So it could just be a byproduct of the bacteria responding to the ammonia, and they've taken care of the ammonia, and now there's too much bacteria. So I'm going to do a big water change. I brought about 10 gallons with me, and we're going to proceed with testing and seeing if we can find out whether this was an electrical problem. There's the green wrasse. He looks like he just emerged from the sand. Still breathing heavy like it was last night. So I don't know. So I've removed about 10 gallons, roughly, maybe a little more. So very low level of ammonia. There is some, but not very much, certainly below 0.25. So the water change has helped, and I'm gonna leave it a day, see what happens, and be prepared to do another really large water change in 2 days. So here, August the 10th, I did not go over to the tank. This is webcam footage, as you can probably tell. The fish look fine. The water is much clearer. Most of the corals are looking pretty good, except for the acropora. That's down to me because I dosed some ammo lock. Then I read about it. Yeah, so I'm expecting to lose most of them. We won't be able to test the heater until we get a new multimeter that we ordered on Amazon because we ended up getting the wrong type the first time around. So that heater test is coming up and I'll show it to you, but it's been delayed. Secondly, we did find Armando and he was removed from the tank last night. Here's some close-up footage of my acropora and melanospilos, and you can see the extent of the damage. This was taken late in the day on August the 10th. So by this time, 2 full days had passed since the incident happened, and I treated with Amolock. Even though it was just a half dose, this is the damage that it did. Okay, so we finally have the right multimeter, and we can test the heater. It's not plugged in right now, and the idea here is to test the state of the water with nothing turned on. There's the multimeter, and the black ground wire is plugged into the ground on the electrical outlet. You can see right there. So the red end gets dropped into the water, and we will see what the reading is with nothing plugged in. There you go. That's pretty much as expected. And I forgot to mention that we're using salt water for this. Here we go with the test. We're not touching anything just in case, and I'm going to plug the heater in, and we're going to see what the reading is when it's plugged in. You can see here it's only a little bit higher than it was without the heater plugged in. So unfortunately, the problem is not the heater from what we can tell. I was really hoping it was, because that was going to be the simple answer. Next up, we're going to test the skimmer exactly the same way. First, without the thing plugged in, and then with it plugged in. This thing is throwing volts. It's well over 26, gets all the way up over 27. So I checked in with Telegram, and he assures me that this level of voltage really isn't a problem. I do understand why, but I decided to go ahead and test the whole tank and just see where things stand. So we're here to use the multimeter to test the whole tank. Okay, ground in place. There's the reading in the air, and I'm going to put this red probe into the tank and see what's going on. Okay, red probe in the water, and we have volts. Over 40, somewhere around 42. So I'm going to do it again and just see if I can duplicate the result. Yep, there it is. So I went through and turned off each piece of equipment one at a time and checked the readings. You can see that they're dropping pretty consistently by 3 to 4 volts per piece of equipment. That is until we get to the last piece of equipment, which is the Jabo SW4. Yeah, it looks like there are volts being caused by this thing. Turning it back on, you can see we've got 23. That, I don't know what that means, but it has to mean something in the context of all this equipment that's running in here. If the total stray voltage in this tank is over 60 volts, I find it really hard to believe that it has no impact on the fish, especially if it's present on a constant basis. I had a great suggestion from Johnny Martinez on a live stream that maybe it was the ATO unit causing problems. And here's how it works. The water comes up from the jug, goes into the unit, but we don't know what happens inside there. Then it comes out again on this other hose. So it's worth checking to see whether there's any kind of an electrical problem that might be causing issues in the tank. I'm using the manual button to put some water into the tank, and we're checking the voltage. And no, there's no indication that there is any voltage while that water is going into the tank directly from the unit. So thanks, Johnny. That was a great suggestion. I did not think of that, and it's good to be able to rule that out. And one final test on the Jabo SW4 at home, just to see whether we can replicate what happened in the tank with the voltage. So we're getting set up here, and this is the voltage with just nothing running. It's not plugged in as expected. And now we're going to plug it in. And there you go, 23 volts. It's obviously throwing voltage. I'm not going to use it in the tank anymore. I might keep it to use for mixing salt water, but other than that, I am just going to keep all of these pieces and use it for parts. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking around to the end. And the end isn't very satisfying because I don't know what happened. I can speculate about a couple of things, but there is no way to ever really know. The tank parameters now are good. Actually, they always were pretty good. And the water's clear again. I'm comfortable with the idea of putting fish back because look, there's algae growing and I need a couple of herbivores because unfortunately I lost my 2 large ones. So I appreciate your watching.
If anyone has any ideas, I'm very happy to hear them. We've ruled out environmental issues, not a poison. It's possible heat played a part. Temperature jumped up from 78 to 80. Maybe there was not enough oxygen in the water for an overnight period, and that's what caused it. That's kind of the way I'm starting to think, because seriously, honestly, I can't think of any other explanation that makes any sense here.